Hey guys, welcome back to another video where we will be looking at the new security audit log feature which will be made available starting AgilePoint NX version 9. This feature has been high on the wish list of our big enterprise customers who have multiple administrators and want to track the changes in various permission levels done by other people to have complete visibility within your system. As you might have already been aware, AgilePoint has always been known to have a very strong security and governance framework with a layered security model. Any changes made to the permissions in any of these layers could always be audited and displayed using a custom reported analytics center. However, system admins wanted an easy to use audit log being shown in context of the object being audited. Security audit logs are fully searchable and provides transparency into any permission changes done to platform level, that is groups and roles, applications, data entity, or page builder. The audit log feature tracks permission change action initiated by both users as well as API. It works in on-premises as well as SaaS deployments. Let's look at this feature in action. So I'm in my AgilePoint portal right now. Let's go to the Manage module. Drill down into access control. We'll first look at the platform level security layer. So we are going to go to groups. Right now there's no group over here. I'm going to say add group. I'm going to just call it demo group. I'm going to put one of my users as the lead. As the group members, I'm going to leave it empty right now, and I'm not going to assign it to any of the roles. So I'm going to go ahead and click finish. We'll close this window. Now we can see one group has been created. If I select this group, I can see in the top global action menu, there's an option called Audit Log. We have provided this option in multiple places for ease of access. So if you have drilled down, you can see the same option over here as well. In case you have not selected a row, you can still access it from here. Or if you're editing a particular group, you can still see the Audit Log tab over here. Right now it says the group has been created. Let's go ahead and add a couple of members to this group. I'm going to go ahead and say add members, search for users. I'm going to add a user, test user 4 to this. And go ahead and click update. Now if I go to Audit Log, you'll see a new action was recorded, add group member, which was performed by me at such and such date. A group member was added to this group and the group member's name was this. So it gives me the entire audit log details. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to group member and delete this member and click update. At this point, if I again go back to the audit log, I can see the remove action was also recorded over here. Now similarly, if I go to roles, the 5 default role types are visible over here. We are going to add a new role. We're going to call it audit demo role. Click next. We're going to give it some access rights. Click next. And we're going to add a couple of members to this role. We are going to say the newly created group should be part of this role. Also, we are going to add a couple of users. Let's add user 1 and user 2. And we are going to go ahead and click finish. Close. The newly created role is now listed over here. If we go back, go to audit log, we can see a new role was created and there were 3 members which were added. One of them was a group and the other 2 were individual users. Now what we are going to do is we are going to make some changes. So I'm going to go ahead and say remove a couple of permissions and click update. And if I go back to audit window, you can see the role has been updated, and if I hover over this statement, it will tell me which permissions were granted or removed. Create and update roles and remove a role permission were removed, which is what I changed over here if you remember, these 2 permissions. So it is tracking individual permission changes as well to give you a total level of granularity. And also if I go back and remove one of the users from this role and say delete, click update, If I go back to audit, I can see the remove role member was also tracked. Now let's look at the other layers of security. So I'm going to go to app management, permissions. All the permission levels have been moved into one single page. So I'm going to go to app permissions over here. I'm going to select maybe one of my applications, Amazon Redshift demo app. As you can see, there are 4 tabs at the top, which were shown previously as well: app owners, app designers, app initiators, report viewers. You see a new one called Audit Log. Right now, if I go to the Audit Log tab, it's empty. I'm going to add a couple of app owners over here. I'm going to add the group which I recently created, and I'm going to also add a couple of users, maybe test user 1, and go ahead and click update. At this point of time, if I go in and click Audit Log, I can see the permission changes were recorded to the owner's role. Similarly, if I go to designer and maybe add one more user, let's say test user 2, click update. And if I go to Audit Log, I can see that 2 users were added to the owner's role, which is demo group and the individual user, and 1 user was added to the designer's role, which is test user 2. Now, if I go back and delete one of the users from the owner's role, let's go ahead and select this, delete, and click update. If I go back to the audit log, you can see the revoke permission action has been logged as well. Let's go back to the permissions. So let's move on to the data entity layer. Now for the data entity layer, in the manage module, you see 2 permissions over here, as you might remember from my previous videos. The first permission actually is the global data entity permissions manager. People added to this particular role can give other people permission to data entities. So those are the global admins of data entity module. Now, by default, the tenant admin or the system admin is part of this role, and he's the one who is going to add additional users to this role. And these are the people who can then subsequently give designer permissions to other people in absence of sysadmin and tenant admin. Let's go ahead. And right now, there's no one in there except the system admin, which is my user right now. I'm going to add a couple of users over here, maybe test user 1 and test user 2. Click update. If I go to audit log, I can see that the 2 users were added by me over here. And if I go and delete one of them and click update, that action should be recorded as well. So the revoke permission was recorded. If I go back to permissions, now next permission I'm going to handle is who all have access to the entity designer module. So as one of the global data entity permission manager, I would see this option. I'm going to go to entity designer, say add members. Let's add user 3 and user 4 and click update. Again, if I go to audit log, I can see the grant permission being recorded for user 3 and user 4. And if I remove one of them and click update, if I go to audit log, I can see that being recorded. That's for data entity at a global level. Now I'm going to show you data entity permission changes at an individual entity level as well. So I'm going to go to data entity. I'll open any of the data entities over here. Go to permissions. I'm going to add a couple of people as entity owner. I'm going to say add member, test user 1, save. I'm going to add test user 2 as entity designer. And if I go to the audit trail over here, I can see those rows being listed. Now, in case of data entity, there is a lot of auditing which can happen. So I have a filter option at the top, and I can see what kind of auditing I want to track. So I can say permission level audits. That's the new feature which has been added. The other auditing was already available, record level, field level, and entity level audits. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply, and the two grant permissions are showing up right now. I'm going to go back to permission and maybe remove one of these users and click save. And if I go back to the audit trail, I can see the revoke permission is being logged as well. Now, one thing to remember in case of data entity, auditing is only enabled if you go to details, edit, and turn this switch on, create detailed audit logs for this entity. If you don't have those values would be captured in the background for the permission level changes, but those would not be shown in the audit trail feature. So you have to enable this to see the audit trail. Now let's go back to Manage Center and look at the last level of permission, which is the page level permission. So I'm going to again a similar concept. For page builder, you have the first permission level, which is global page builder permission manager. These are the people who can give other people permission within the system. So I'm going to go back and say add members. I'm going to add user 1 and user 2. Click update. And if I look at the audit log, I can see both of them were added to the manage global permission level, and the username is also logged. Now, if I go back, select a user, delete it, I can see the revoke permission action was recorded as well. Similarly, if I go back and go to the page designer, click add members, I'm going to add user 3 and user 4 as page designers, people who would be seeing the page builder module in the menu. Click update. If I go to the audit log, I can see the grant permission in context of that object that for global page designers, these two users have been added. If I remove one of them, click update. And if I go back to the audit log, I can see the revoke permission has been recorded as well. Now, if I go to the page builder module, now let's go ahead and click a page itself. Now, previously we saw the global level permissions of page builder. Now we are going to see at a particular page level. I'm going to just call it a demo page. I'm going to add a simple header over here. We'll go ahead and save this. If I now go to the context menu, go to permissions, there are 3 levels of permissions in page builder: page owner, page designer, and page viewer. I'm going to add few users. So I'm going to say user 1 is page owner, user 2, I'm going to add this user as page designer, and go back to permissions. And for page viewer, we are going to add user 3 and user 4. Click save. At this point of time, if I go to permissions, if I go to page owners, there's a new button over here. You'll see show audit log. If you click on it, it acts as a toggle button. It would show you the audit log for the selected permission group. So you can see that a grant permission was performed for page owner for this particular page for this user. So it tracks all of that. Similarly, if I go and change the page designer, it shows me the user 2 was added, and page viewer, user 3 and 4 were added. Now, one more thing to note, on each of these screens which you are seeing where we have added the audit log feature, whether it was in Manage Center or whether it is in the individual resource level, you see a download audit log button. So you can always click on it and download it in an Excel format. So as you can see, it gave me that audit log, which I can then further slice and dice if I wanted in Excel, or I can even report it using a custom report in Analytics Center. As I mentioned, if I go back to the Manage Center over here, if I bring up audit log on any of these screens, there's a download button which is available on the Manage Center as well. So I can see the entire audit log for that particular object. So with this, we come to the end of this video. As you can see now, a detailed security audit log is available within the context of an object for easier access by system admins. Thanks a lot for your time.